If you just tuned in, you're listening to The Rabbi and the Rebbitzin. I'm Rabbi David Vigler. My wife is Rebbitzin Chana Vigler, and together we are the founders and spiritual leaders of the Chabad of Palm Beach Gardens. You can learn more about us at youtube.com/Jewish Gardens or facebook.com/Jewish Gardens. Today, we are hosting a show called AMA, Ask Me Anything, and we're trying to keep up with the questions. We've got to speed up the pace, Chana, to keep up with these questions, because there's another question coming in right here about cremation. A cremation as well as tattoos. I see by Luna as well, a question coming in about cremation and tattoos. What is up with Jewish people and cremation? Is it true that cremation is something which Jewish people are not allowed to do? Are Jewish people allowed to be buried with tattoos? I'm going to start this one off.
Go ahead.
The answer is cremation and tattoos are both absolutely prohibited by the Jewish tradition, by the Torah. The Torah explicitly tells us that you're not allowed to do them. And the reason is because we do not own our bodies. Our souls were invested in a vehicle called our human body. It doesn't belong to us. It's a loan. It's a lease. It's just like when you leased your car, your Mercedes or your Toyota. At the end of the lease, you have to return that car in the same condition you received it, back to the leasing company. But if you were to return the Mercedes-Benz in an urn, I don't think they'd appreciate that very, very much. God leases us this magnificent piece of engineering and ingenuity and this incredible machine that's called the human body. And it's our responsibility to care for it. That's why we have to keep ourselves safe during pandemics and not do anything which is too dangerous. This is the reason why we're not allowed to put our lives in danger. This is the reason why you're not allowed to commit suicide, because suicide is self-murder. You're not allowed to murder anybody else, and you're not allowed to murder your own body. Burning your body is destroying your body. And that is a violation of the lease with which we were given our body. And the same principle applies to tattoos. A tattoo is a permanent marker on the human body. You can't just color on this thing, and you can't amputate randomly. Obviously, if you need to amputate to save a life, you have to. And if you need to do a surgery to keep yourself healthy, you're allowed to do that. But to just cosmetically tattoo on the human body is a violation of the terms of the contract, a violation of the fundamental understanding of our relationship with God, that God is entrusting us with a body so that we can fulfill our purpose on this earth. And that's the reason why we're not allowed to do tattoos.
One more thing that I would add is that, we don't know what it feels like to be dead. We don't know what the human body wants or doesn't want when it's dead. But the Torah tells us that the human body craves to be in the earth. That's what it wants. And so we bury people under the ground because that's what comforts them. That's what feels good for a dead body, if you could even use those words for a dead body, because of course a dead body doesn't feel
it's its most natural state of being. It comes from the earth.
Exactly. So as it says, we come from the earth and we return to the earth. And so we know that that's where they feel most comfortable. That's where they belong. We're actually meant to bury people very quickly after they die, because they're not meant to just be hanging around for a while. It doesn't feel good. It's very frustrating for a dead body to just be hanging around. For the soul, for sure, and the body. And there's so many beautiful rituals that come along with the Jewish burial that it's so painful when a body is denied that, especially for the family that's left behind. We know that a dead body can hear for a certain amount of time. The soul actually hovers above the body for a bit of time as well, above the grave. And why would anybody want to deny that to their loved one or to themselves? And I think it's just from not knowing. I think it's just ignorance. And one of our big campaigns have been really to teach people about the importance of a Jewish burial.
This is great, Han. Great answer over there. I just want to say, we want to finish with Luna. Your point over there, Luna, on facebook.com/Jewish Gardens, is that can you be buried with a tattoo? And the answer is technically some Jewish cemeteries will not allow it, because the person is dying in sin, so to speak, right? So they're very, very strict. They might not allow it because the person is dying in sin. The fact of the matter is that the vast majority of Jewish cemeteries will not have a problem with it because of the basic understanding that a person might very well have regretted that violation of Torah, and there's nothing they can do about it. They can't take it away. So that's where the myth comes from. Technically, maybe in far more religious communities, they might have been more strict with regards to the burying with a tattoo. But today, where we're far more understanding of people's life journeys and how they may have, they didn't do it in order to anger God, because if they did it in order to anger God and they died in sin, then maybe they would have been excluded. Just to give a quick example, somebody who dies in suicide would sometimes be left out of the Jewish cemetery, buried outside. And the reason is, again, because they died in sin, self-murder, without the ability to atone for that sin. So anyone who dies in a state of sin might be buried outside of a Jewish cemetery. But today we always, always, always give people the benefit of the doubt. Even in the case of suicide, we say it must have just been mental illness, and they meant well, they just simply couldn't control themselves.